And so this thing
And
is long.
welcome everybody to the latest edition, a special post-game edition of As Good as It Gets. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friend Derrick Gervin. Just finished watching the first round of the Western Conference semifinal game between the defending champion Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Minnesota goes into Denver and comes away with a 106-99 victory to take a one-game lead in this Western Conference semifinal. Absolutely great game. And I think this will be an absolutely great series. And it's great to be here with you, Derek, to talk about this game and all the playoffs, get up to date on all the playoff series. And first and foremost, before we even get in the game tonight, what are your thoughts so far on what we've seen in the 2024 NBA playoffs?
Well, first I'll say good evening, everybody. It's been exciting already. We're only in the second round. So just imagine as we move forward. I've enjoyed it. There were a couple, of course, there were a couple of dominant series, like you look at OKC with the Pelicans. That was very one-sided. We've had some series, first round series. We look at Phoenix getting swept. Teams you might have expected to lose, but not to get swept, not in the fashion that they lost. So, it's been you're looking at the changing of the guard, I believe, Ricky. We got if you look at OKC with Shea Gildrich and Jalen Williams and those guys, and you look at Josh Giddey, just look at their team, Chet Holmgren, and you can move to Orlando and look at their team with Banchero and those guys, Wagner. And I mean, we're just looking at a change of the guard. You can go to Cleveland, the Mobley, Jared Allen. They're still young guys. Darius Garland. It's crazy. So I've enjoyed it. I think it's only going to get better. I know we'll get into Denver and Minnesota, but right now I've enjoyed it. No surprises, Ricky. I'm actually 7-0 in my first round picks. Start on April 19th. I picked my teams, and so far I'm 7-0. If Orlando were to pull it out like I expected in Game 7 in the first round, I'll be 8-0.
And when I saw the Magic Cavaliers matchup, the way the Cavaliers dominated these first two games, I was thinking, Orlando's a nice young team, but they aren't ready yet. But they have bounced back and taken this thing all the way to Game 7, which we will see tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern time. And yeah, we're going to get to the game that just finished up. But let's start with Cleveland and Orlando, a series nobody thought much of, but it's been a great series. And before that, Derek, you hit on something I was saying throughout this game. It is a changing of the guard in the NBA. Fans are being introduced to players like Anthony Edwards of Minnesota, and Nas Reed, the sixth man of the year, showing off why he earns that award with 14 points in the fourth quarter. The teams we've been used to watching out of the playoffs, KD's out, LeBron's out, Curry didn't even make it. It's a new crop. And these guys are phenomenal talents that we're watching.
Hey, Ricky, think about, I'm just going to name a few guys. Think about my man in Golden State, Poshimski, right? The lefty with the headband for Golden State.
Yeah.
You look at Jaime Jaquez, you go to Miami, right? You go to Oklahoma City, they have a variety of young guys. Their average age is, now I don't even think it's 23 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
So if you just go around the league, a lot of these younger guys, my man in Miami, the young kid, Nikola Jovic.
Yeah.
So many other young guys are getting a chance to showcase themselves. You look at Milwaukee, they brought a couple guys in. One of them name is Jackson. Then they got the other kid, Green. So it's giving a lot of guys opportunities because some of the veterans, I'll say maybe some of those up in age have maybe faltered a little bit. and had
Yeah.
maybe fatigue problems or whatever. So and even when you look at injuries as well, in Milwaukee's case, it was because those two guys got to play because of injuries. So to see
Yeah.
these young people get an opportunity to me, and to see the Shea Gildress and Alexander, like you named, Walker. You look at Luca and all these guys, Jalen Green in Houston. We can go on and on. So
Halliburton
yeah,
and
Halliburton, throw him right. Of course, Jalen Brunson's not that old at all
yeah.
himself, still in his 20s. So yeah, it's a change into the guard, but that's not a bad thing. The guys that we know about, Steph and those guys are still playing at a high level. LeBron, they still playing at a high level, so it's not all bad. But yeah, we watching
But we're
KD and
transitioning.
those guys. We watching the change of the guard, but those guys know it, Ricky, and they accept
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It happens, man. It is part of it. I think about Halliburton, and we're going to get into that Pacers next series. I remember when he got drafted, and you were saying, man, that Pistons should have taken him instead of.
He's the
I
only
think
guy I
it
talked
was.
about, Ricky.
I think they took the kid's not even in the league now.
And I was upset
Killian,
because all I talked
Killian
about the whole
Hayes.
draft was Tyrese Halliburton.
But I'm looking at this dude. His jumper is funnier than mine. He don't even have a jumper. He's got an old
Set shot. It's
1956.
like a granny set shot.
Yeah, and he is just a terrific young player. And now the country's going to get to see these guys.
Hey,
As
Ricky, he
go
shoots on his tiptoes, basically.
Yeah. I mean,
I got my oldest brother was like that. He could jump and stuff, but sometimes he could just shoot on his tiptoes. And if I watch Halliburton, he got that ball up here and he shoots off his tiptoes, but he always makes sure he put arc on it and stuff. It's amazing. It's an ugly shot. Reggie Miller's, mine, Sean Marion, and on and on. Bill Cartwright, we had some awkward shots, but they say if it goes in, hey, that's all that counts.
that's all that counts. Hey, let's go back. Cavaliers and Magic, they'll go at tomorrow at 1:00 in Cleveland. Who you like here?
Oh man, in this series, man, that's gonna be tough, man. I don't know. Okay, you tell me what you think first.
It's it seems like Orlando has the momentum now. After losing those first two games, they've really come back strong to win 3 out of the last 4. And they had the big win the other night, but they got to go to Cleveland. But I don't think home court means this. It doesn't seem like it means as much in the NBA today as when you got played. Other than
It doesn't seem to
Denver,
mean the same. I agree with you.
but other than Denver, even though they lost tonight, and I think some of that is altitude. So I kind of like Cleveland tomorrow, only because they're home. I think it's a 2 evenly matched team. It should be a great game.
Well, I picked Orlando in 7 games, and the reason I did that was because I knew it was going to be a struggle. If you remember, they got punched in the mouth first game, but so did Indiana.
Yeah.
So they were out of their element, and it was like they saw a deer in the headlights. And I wrote that on Facebook. It's like they were like a deer in the headlights the first night. Orlando for 2 games, and then Indiana. But I expected them to bounce back in high fashion. And so when they went to Orlando, I expected them to win both games. And I expected it to be 3-3. And I expect Orlando to win in game 7. And the only thing scares me, Ricky, is, Jared Allen was out for game 6 with the rib injury. I don't know his status for game 7. So, the style of play for Cleveland, we don't know what it's going to be because we don't know his health going to that game. But even healthy, I think Paulo Banchero is going to have a standout game. I think it's time. He hasn't been getting the love he's deserved, I believe. He's still kind of, people don't talk about him a lot. And Orlando, they don't talk. So I think this is going to be his coming out party. I think he gets about 34 points tomorrow. And I think Orlando wins that game by about 5 points, 3 to 5 points. But I think Orlando wins it on the road.
Okay, we'll be looking for that one. Let's jump over to the West and kind of get into the game we saw tonight. Uh, Minnesota was just very impressive. I was really curious to see how they were going to handle kind of being in the spotlight, even though this is the second round. But now you're playing the defending champs in their building, in the altitude, and bro, they stepped up to the challenge. And you're playing with your coach. Uh, he's he's there, but he's sitting on the bench with a torn patella in
Yeah.
his knee. Uh, but none of that bothered them. They came in there, and from the first quarter on, they jumped on Denver. I think 17-4 to start the game. Denver came back to actually take the lead after the first quarter, and it was pretty much nip and tuck the whole way. And Derrick, what I saw was what you were talking about. The Timberwolves, who lead the NBA in scoring, by the way, but I thought it was their defense that won it tonight because what you were talking about with their big guys, they made the Joker struggle. Yeah, he had 32 points, but he had to take 25 shots to get there. And D, even he's just a terrific player. Even some of the shots he hit, they were draped all over him.
Hey, Ricky, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say something that you probably never heard, and the listeners haven't either. Okay, so you're getting the first here tonight. All right, you hear me?
I'm listening.
You know how some players like Jokic, he's not that tall. I mean, he's tall, right? But he's not like a high jumper, and we always talk about his lack of athleticism, right? Okay, so think when he plays against certain teams. Most teams in the NBA, 29 other teams. Out of most of those teams, if he were to miss his own shot, who gets the rebound? He does.
Yeah.
And he might drop it in the basket and all that, right? So think what I'm saying. He's dropping it in the basket. Now he's playing against some guys that make him shoot the ball up. Think about it. Him and Aaron Gordon as well.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon as well. Instead of the drop-ins, the dunks and all that, now he got Najee Reed. Now you got Towns. Now you got Rudy Gobert. And you even could put in slow-mo from San Antonio. Kyle Anderson's got some length. You got Jaden McDaniels, who's very athletic. So now instead of you just grabbing it, throwing it back in, sidearm or whatever, no. And that's what scares me because this is the best team, the best two teams to me in the NBA this year. That includes Boston and OKC. I think these are the two best teams. Denver, I'm still worried about their bench like I've been all season. But now everything shifts, Rudy. We get ready to find out, is Denver as good as people, including myself, think they are? Because this is the most they've been tested. In those 2 years, I promise you. We get ready to find out what they really about. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray as well. We get ready to find out if that Denver team is what some people think they are.
And their defense was terrific. I mean, they give up very few open shots. I mean, of course, the Nuggets are able to get some of that off that action, the pick and roll with the Joker and Jamal. They got some of those, but mainly on the Joker, he had to work. And to your point, Derrick, he only had 8 rebounds tonight. And he only had 1 offensive rebound.
Wow.
The Joker's been getting 19, 20.
I'm telling you.
15. He had 8 rebounds. They got out rebounded 42-35. They only had 3 offensive rebounds. I mean, he was getting that in 1 possession against the Lakers.
Do you remember this guy now, though, that's in Sacramento by name Malik Monk, who was also in the 6-man running, right? So now you go to Denver, and they got a guy named Contavious Caldwell Pope. When the last time you heard him? getting 20, 25, if you really think about
it. Yeah.
In this series, guys are going to have to come out of themselves who they are, who they've been this year, and they're going to have to give more. They're not going to win every game. Denver going to be there, Ricky. Think about it. They're going to be, I mean, not Denver. Minnesota's going to be there defensively every single game. And then you still got Mike Conley in there, who's also a defender. It's not like you got Trae Young in there. You got Mike Conley Jr. So
and, no, go ahead,
at every position.
And Derrick, you right on point. Conley tonight was terrific. Had 10 assists, and he just organizes them offensively. And then if it gets late in the shot clock, they just go to Anthony Edwards, man, and he does his thing on the floor. Conley had 14 and 10 for them. Carl Anthony Towns, as I mentioned before we came on air, had 20 points, and he only played in the fourth quarter. Because
came off the bench. Breed outscored the whole bench, Ricky.
Yeah, he was 7 of 11 for 16 points.
Denver's bench only scored 15.
But I tell you, Derrick, even tonight, and even though they lost, it is amazing how resilient the Nuggets are. They play like defending champs, man. They lost by 7, but they did not go down easy.
Ricky, but I wrote a couple of weeks ago, the only thing that scared me was when this series was going to come, because I knew it was going to happen. What scared me was them having to play 40 minutes. I'm trying to look at it right now. I'm looking at it. Jokic 41 minutes, Porter 40, Caldwell Pope 37, Murray 34, Gordon 33.
Yeah.
You having to play all them that many minutes in the playoffs, that's not a good thing when you're playing a defensive team, a team that makes their living on the defensive end, and then on the offensive end, you got Anthony Edwards. I picked Denver, and I'm really nervous about it. And I wrote it when this series came about. I'm nervous about it. I know my team is not going away. They're gonna continue to fight, but man, I'm nervous. I'm telling you, I'm scared we're gonna lose game 2.
But what I'm loving about this, Derrick, and you talked about it's so refreshing to see, because I know there's millions of fans out there tonight watching Denver, the Timberwolves, and like, whoa,
right, right, where they been?
Yeah, yeah. Where they've been there. But I think that's the fault of the media, man, because they get, we nothing but love and respect for these guys. The KDs, the LeBrons and Stephs, who've been the faces of this league for years now. Hey, I give them all due respect. But, brother, there's some new dudes out there.
But can I tell you who I blame for that? I don't blame the media for that. I blame the NBA. You know why? Because if you look at it, the teams that get all the coverage, the TV coverage and all that, right? Yeah. Those are teams that get talked about.
That is true.
So it's sad that they slight Minnesota, and it's like Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell's a star. How often do we see Cleveland or these teams? They don't switch it up. How often do we see the Spurs now or Houston or something? You know, I don't want to really look at the Washington Wizards and I'm going to be honest, the Pistons right now. But you got so many other fringe teams right now that's coming along, like we watched Orlando and Indiana, and I want to see some more of these guys play, man. Not try to find out who they are come playoff time. If they make the playoffs, give these guys some more credit, man, some more viewership.
That is such a great point. And to your point, it's not like it's a surprise. They've been near the top of the conference all year, and we hadn't even talked about Oklahoma City. And people are going to see them and see all the great young talents they have in Oklahoma City. So, yeah, your point is well taken. And that'll kind of be the theme of this evening, the changing of the guard. And as great as this game was tonight, I think the Thunder Mavericks matchup is going to be just as fun to watch. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised the Mavericks beat LA the Clippers. I'm getting my LA teams mixed up because they didn't have Kawhi, and Kawhi's the heart and soul of that team. And the thing about Kawhi, D, as great as he is, he's just not
He
available.
hurt. He hurt, man. You know that's my guy, but he hurt. He's hurt a lot, man. And you know he's never gonna get over that. I think it's still he got some kind of degenerative
Yeah,
problem now. I've said that for a couple
yeah,
years, and I really think it's not gonna get any better. I don't know if it's an arthritis type thing or what it is, but he's not gonna all of a sudden become 100%. So I see him the rest of his career. Basically load managing. If you look at it this year, I believe he played about 67, 70 games. So, you know, that's wear and tear on you. And then he tried to do his best. People complained about load management. He sucked it up. And maybe that tells me he wanted to be involved in potentially making an all NBA team or something. Maybe he had something like that in his contract. So he sucked it up. He plays about 70 games. But look what happens come playoff time. He's not healthy. So with that alone,
you
I
know what,
expected
D?
them not
I,
do well.
I would sit him out. I said, dude, you're not even playing in January. I mean, because we need you in April. I mean, I know
Well,
the league would frown upon that, but
what if he, Ricky, as a person in his contract, say he was getting like $1 million or whatever it may be for making an all NBA team, and he says that he wants to play. I mean, that's kind of dilemma or something you have to deal with, right? Because think about
yeah,
that part. If a player has it in their contract where they get these bonuses, you're gonna try to play, right?
yeah.
Possibly. I'm not saying everyone, but it's a
Oh, I got
conversation though, right?
I got you. Yeah, I got you. Uh, so they knocked the Clippers off, and they're going to get the Thunder, who are actually the number one seed in the West. How do you see this matchup going?
Man, that's another
Wait,
tough
wait,
one. Just like
before that, you still think the Nuggets will win this series? With the
yeah, I can't change. You know, I make my picks in preseason. I stick with it. I know they got their hands full, though. I'm not blind. But
they got
yes, I'm gonna stick with them. They still got, to me, the best player in the world. And if to me that if there's any team in the NBA that can make the adjustment and come back, it's them. It's not like I'm picking a middle of the pack team. I'm picking a team that's already done it. And so if anyone can come back, it's them. And yes, I'm gonna ride the ship all the way out. I still say they come back. They got the Joker.
and to their credit, man, like I was saying a few minutes ago, they got some championship DNA in them, man.
Man,
And
you're Rudy Tomjanovich. Never
and
underestimate the heart of a champion.
yeah, it is no quit in the Nuggets. I'm very impressed with them, even though they did not win the game tonight. Okay, Thunder Mavericks. You know, Dallas has the 1-2 punch of Kyrie and Luka, and the Thunder just got these young guns: Shea Gildrix, Alexander, uh, 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 the tall kid from
Chet Holmgren.
Holmgren from Gonzaga,
Oh yeah, big Chet, boy.
and and we're going to get the nation's going to get to see all these young guys. Talk to us about the Thunder.
Ricky, do I have to?
Just
Man, look here, sir. I picked OKC. Oh boy, I picked them to, to win this series. But I tell you what, I don't know how this series is going to go because if you look at last night's game against the Clippers, right? You saw it. Did you see the game?
yeah.
If Daniel Gafford is playing Chet Holmgren with the physicality that he went to the bucket twice on Zubac,
Yeah.
and he knocked him down out of bounds and then threw it down.
Yeah.
If he's capable of doing that in this series, and Derek Lively continues to get all those offensive rebounds and hustle plays and all that, man, this series could go either way. I picked OKC, but I'm worried about rebounding, Ricky. So I think I give Dallas the advantage with PJ Washington now, Daniel Gafford. You got Derek Jones. And of course, Luka's a really good rebounder, and Kyrie can even rebound when necessary. You got Big Max Kleber. You got Josh Green. If they can't keep Dallas off the glass, then OKC is going to lose this series. But I'm gonna pick OKC. They've had a really good year this year. I'm gonna give them the advantage because they have the home court advantage. But I know it's not going to be a walk in the park. That's for sure.
Yeah. That was a great move from the Mavericks. They picked up P.J. Washington, and they got Daniel Gafford uh, for Rashawn Holmes and a first round
Mhm.
pick. And they don't mind giving off that first round pick because they knew it's going to be late. And he is just those two, especially Gafford, have changed that team. They're much better defensively than what they were, and they are a dangerous team over there.
Ricky, I posted on Facebook before we did the show, maybe an hour or two before the show, that I picked OKC in this series, but then I posted a video. Okay, on the video, Kyrie's sitting on the floor under the basket, leaning on the up against the basket support, and Luka's all the way on his bench on the far end, right? So Kyrie's sitting there. I don't know if he had got fouled or whatever it was. He's sitting there on the video. Luka runs all the way from their bench and comes and runs past one of the coaches. And he gets over there. And when he gets over there, Kyrie puts his arms out like this.
And they helps him up.
And Luka helped, man. And when I saw that, I said, I'm going to stick with my pick in this series, OKC. But I said, go Dallas. Man.
But why does that speak to you?
It affected me because of what they went through last year in that short period of time, or 16 games or whatever it was, that short period of time they got to play against with each other, right? And we know Kyrie's been through that already with KD and those guys, and New Orleans and Brooklyn. So that kind of bothered me. And then to see him finally found a home. We know he went through the anti-Semitic, all that stuff. I'm not gonna get into that, but everybody knows the story. And some people might have looked at him differently. They've never given him another chance after that. And to see him go to Dallas, he hasn't been in the news in a negative way. People have wanted to see him on the Olympic team. He hasn't been talking about the earth being flat. The guy just went there, man. He's done a lot in the community. He's playing fantastic basketball, as you saw last night, and PJ Tucker saw. And I mean, I couldn't help but get emotional. I really did. I didn't cry, but I was close to it. Man, it just affected me to see him happy.
Yeah. The Thunder. Of course, they got Gilgeous-Alexander and Holmgren. What makes them go? They got Giddy,
Jalen Williams, Lou Dort.
All these guys that the country doesn't know about.
A bunch of young guys. Their average age, I believe, is about 23 years old, but they bring it every night. And what's scary is playing against them. They don't have a whole lot of girth under the basket. If you look at it, you look at Big Chet, how thin he is. So it's not a lot of size under there, but they play really hard and they play together. And they play together on both ends. They're not like an individual team that's going to stop you off the dribble and all that, Rudy. Shea can, and Jalen Williams can. But other than that, man, they're just a team that helps each other defensively, and they rebound the basketball. And when they do that, they go to the other end. And if you look at it, they get more good shots more times than not. They don't turn the ball over a lot, and they're very resilient. So it's going to be a tough series. I picked OKC. My heart wants Dallas to win, but looking at the games, I still think OKC will do whatever's necessary. I think they're capable of doing what's necessary, and I think OKC moves on.
Okay, it's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a great match.
It's gonna be a heck of a series. A lot of people are gonna be cheering if they can't stop Kawhi and Luka. When I said about the height, the size thing, Ricky, I talked about Gafford and all those people, but you got to think about the other side too. If Gafford and those guys are punishing inside, where do you think Luka's gonna be taking that ball a lot? And where do you think Kyrie's gonna be taking that ball a lot? So Chet got his hands full. Chet gonna have to have some backup because they're gonna be coming at that basket.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. That's where Dallas could win the game. Not shooting the threes, attacking that basket and getting to the free throw line. That's how Dallas could win that series in my mind.
And you're right about Gafford and his physicality. That's going to be fun. Let's head west. This is a old rivalry from back in the day, the Knicks and Pacers, but no Reggie Miller, no Patrick Ewing, no Starks, Mason, and all those guys. Uh, just some young guns in Indiana, led by Halliburton, who the country's going to get to see, and to a lesser extent, Jalen Brunson, who we're familiar with, but we've never really seen him in this role where he is the guy now in New York. How do you like this series?
Well, to me, both teams are shorthanded. You know, New York is missing Julius Randle, and it's hard to replace 25 and 10. And then you got guys that look like they're a little beat up. How you saw how Hardenstein's not looking like he's doing so great. Mitchell Robinson kind of pulled up lame a little bit the other day. So it's going to be interesting. Man. Oh, man. I don't know. I think Indiana is going to be able to outscore them, Ricky. I think without Julius, I don't think the Knicks score enough. You know, we're looking at it, Jalen Brunson. It kind of reminds me, I won't say to this point, but yeah, I will. Kind of reminds me of the 76ers when AI was playing with them. Mm-hmm. And he had to take a lot of shots to keep them afloat. I think that's what's happening now. Jalen Brunson's taking like 30 shots a night, and he's not shooting a high percentage. So I think Indiana's going to be able to cause him problems. I think Halliburton's length and a couple other guys they put in there could cause him trouble. And, you know, if you stop Jalen Brunson, who's the engine of that team, you stop the Knicks. I don't think DiVincenzo and Anunoby and all those other guys can score enough. And I think Indiana wins that series in 6 or maybe even 5.
Wow. Now, I do like – I'm surprised at how well Josh Hart has played for them in the playoffs for the Knicks. He's made some big plays for them. It's been fun watching them. It's been fun watching the folks at the Garden. And we got to talk about the Sixers after we and some of the teams that did not
Hey, Ricky, let me say this quickly about Indiana, though. What gives problems to the Knicks? You know, Hardenstein and Robinson have gotten foul trouble a little bit going against Embiid, right? And, you know, that's wear and tear, right? So now you got to adjust. Now you have to come out the paint. You have to go out and guard Miles Turner at the three-point line. Yeah. So that opens up the offensive rebounds for Indiana. And with the length of Halliburton, who's 6'7" as a guard, 6'6", 6'7", and all these other guys, you got Obi Toppin and all these guys in there, it's going to cause trouble for the Knicks. And I don't think the Knicks can score enough points. So Miles Turner is going to be very important, a critical guy in this tournament, in this series. He's not much that bad a shooter, not much more than Karl Anthony Towns. He's almost like Cat from the three-point line. And I think that's going to cause problems for the Knicks. So, yeah, I think Indiana wins this. It'll be physical, but I think Indiana wins the series handily.
Okay, let's go. The Celtics are waiting in the wings here for the winner of Cleveland and Orlando. Who gives them the better matchup?
Orlando, the team that's won 3 out of the last 4. Because they got those 2 young thoroughbreds by the name of Wagner, spelled Wagner, and and Banchero. And I think those 2 guys are going to play really well. If you look at it the other night, I was proud of Greg Anthony's son, Cole Anthony. He had the ESPN top 10 play. Jalen Suggs and all those guys have played really well. And they've got some guys that have contributed that was in their starting lineup. I can't think of the dark-skinned young man's name with the little afro right now, Richardson or something. I believe is his name.
Isaacs?
Yeah, yes. So they got guys. They got some athleticism in there. They got some length in there. I like them. I just like Orlando. It's going to be tough, but I don't think they can deal. Well, they'll win this series, Ricky. So I'll say they win this one, and then after that, goodbye.
Yeah, I think Boston's gonna win the series.
Goodbye. You heard me.
I
Hey,
still
Ricky,
don't.
wait now. That
I still
depends
don't.
on what if Porzingis is not able to play? Would you think
Yeah,
differently?
yeah, yeah. I still don't trust Boston. I mean, for
You know
some.
why I was kind of leery about Boston. I still don't think they're the best team in the NBA, but I think they're the best in the West. I mean, the East. I'm sorry, but even without Porzingis, we're gonna find out. I still think Al Horford has something left in the tank. And then, if you have to, you can put in guys like Luke Cornett, or you can put in even Xavier Tillman from Michigan State. You got guys, and then Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. I'm sorry, not Kevin, not the son. Peyton Pritchard has played really well. So I think Boston could win this series. I just think with Derrick White, to me, Derrick White was the MVP in the
Woo,
last series. I
yeah,
thought he was the MVP. So
yeah.
I just think,
He
yeah,
was
he
he was
carried them.
terrific.
Tatum and Brown are still a little suspect to me, Ricky, but I think Boston, with their experience and having a home court advantage, they didn't lose a lot of games at home this year at all. I think maybe 3. So, yeah, I think Boston moves on.
We talked about Kawhi's injury. The Bucks were without Giannis. Dame Lillard missed a couple of games. But you know what? Even if they had them, they had problems with the Pacers all year. Uh, it may have gone 7, but I could have still seen Indy winning that series. Uh,
So,
was hiring Doc? Does Doc Rivers take the blame for this, or what
ooh,
does
boy.
Milwaukee do? What do they do?
No, I think the person that fired Adrian Griffin takes the blame more than Doc, because they're the one who put Doc in that position. And it was a tough position that when he came in, you're replacing a coach that's 30-13, and you're coaching a team that's won a championship within the last 5 years. So you're walking into pressure. But I won't blame Doc because they had injuries throughout the year. Pat Connaughton was banged up pretty much the whole season. Middleton was in and out. Dame was in and out. Plus, it's new for Dame with a new team, new city, new schools for his kids, the whole works, whatever it may be. It was just wasn't their year. Giannis ended up getting hurt, and as we saw what happened with him. And if you look at it throughout the year, it gave Bobby Portis a chance to earn some more money. I will say that he's been out. He was outstanding through the whole year. But I
Mhm.
think anyway, they couldn't keep up with Indiana over the course of 7 games. So if you take Giannis in there, that means some of the other guys aren't going to be as productive because they're standing around watching. And then you put Giannis out of there, it gives other guys a chance to step up, including Dame. We saw Dame have, 35 in the first half. Next game, he had about 26, 27 and a half. So they got some guys got a chance to improve their stock, and some guys' stock might have dropped, including Doc Rivers. But overall, they were just overmatched all year with Indiana, and I think Indiana would have beat them with or without Giannis.
Yeah, and this is the second straight year Giannis has missed playoff games. That he had the same injury problems last year in the playoffs. Man, you got to have your guys. I go back. I think about New Orleans, and you know they got just swept away. Didn't have Zion. I mean, I give a kid credit. He played well. Played a lot of games during the regular season, but when they needed him most, again he wasn't there, Derek.
Same with Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
Brandon Ingram was beat up. He gets hurt a lot as well. And what's going on in New Orleans, Ricky? Is this something in the water? Or, you got Anthony Davis, okay? We can go on and on. You got DeMarcus Cousins. People come, and now you got Zion. What's going on, man? People get there, and I'm just kidding about the water, but it's just like they've had bad luck, man. It's just certain teams. It seems to at one time, remember, Ricky, it was Portland with the
yeah,
Sam Bowies and the
yeah,
Bill Waltons and the
yeah,
Greg Oden.
yeah,
So now it just seems to be them, man. You constantly have guys getting beat up. I don't understand it, and it's sad because Zion really had an All NBA season this year. So I'm sure he'll make at least second or third team. So I was sad to see him not be able to play in the playoffs. But overall, New Orleans had a pretty good year, Ricky. But at the end of the day, C.J. McCollum, I think he hurt his stock a little bit. You saw the games he played. He was having 7 points, and he just didn't show up a few games. He didn't show up against the Lakers, and then he didn't show up in the series. They get swept. So some guys improved their stock, but to me, Zion showed that he's still a guy that could be the face of their franchise. And I think going forward now is just getting them back in shape and all that and getting ready for next season.
I wonder how much CJ got left in the tank, Derrick. I mean, I believe he's 32. He's got a lot of miles on him in that league.
He looked to me. He didn't. I won't say he looked shot, but man, he didn't look. He's not. His acceleration was not as good when they got down to the playoffs. He actually had a pretty good season, but during the playoffs, he looked a step slow to me. He could have been banged up and just not said anything about it, but he wasn't the same. And as you see, the results show what happened. They got swept. I mean, that's not ever a good thing. You get swept.
Yeah. The most disappointing team to me in the playoffs were the Philadelphia 76ers.
More so than Phoenix?
Yeah. I just, because Philly just gave a couple of games away, man. I mean, the Knicks won that series 3-1, but it could have easily been 3-1 the other way.
Yeah.
Embiid was terrific. But Derrick, as good as Joel Embiid is, his conditioning still seems suspect to me.
He's overweight still. That guy needs to lose about 15 to 20 pounds. 20 pounds, maybe 20 to 25. Every year he's an MVP candidate, and then his body breaks down over the course of the season. And we watched it several years now in a row. If you remember, Ricky, he wasn't really he was kind of injury prone when he was in Kansas.
Yeah, it's always, yeah.
So he's come to the NBA now. He's a superstar. He's played really well. I think this year he averaged 34 and 11 when healthy. But he seems, and maybe 5 assists, like 34, 11, and 5 assists, I believe, without even looking. I think that's his stats. But he gets beat up a lot, and now you have to decide, what do you do, Ricky? Do you think about breaking the team up? Because we know Tobias Harris is not going to be there next year. We know that very well after that 0 point performance. I won't even, I don't even want to talk about it. You already know how I feel about that one. So
very disappointing.
Oh man!
But I want to ask you something. You said, okay, so if Joe comes in and plays the year 20 pounds lighter, what does that do for him? Because he uses that bulk. He would still be strong enough, you think, to.
This is what I think. If you remember, there was another guy who was overweight about 4 years ago. He lost 30 pounds, something like that, and now he's possibly going to be a 3-time MVP by the name of Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
And you notice since he's lost weight, if you remember, he was pudgy, Ricky. He was overweight.
Yeah.
And since he lost weight, have you heard anything about his body? Have you seen him breaking down?
No.
And he still has the girth. And so with Embiid, losing 20 pounds is not a whole lot for Joel Embiid. He's 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So he needs to lose weight, take some of that wear and tear off his body, man, all that movement. And he's a guy, remember, Ricky, he's a guy who likes to dribble through his legs and all that, like Kyrie and James Harden and those guys.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just catching it and shooting a jump hook or this or that. He's trying to go off the dribble at 300. I won't say trying. He does it quite well. But he drives to the basket a lot and he falls a lot. You know, he's always on the floor like Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
And you see that falling. It's kind of like Zion I talked about.
Hold your breath.
And those guys continue to stay injured. Look at Anthony Davis. Continue to stay hurt. And so, I think he needs to lose at least 20 pounds.
Yeah. And it's so funny, Derrick, in this era of the NBA, where you have all this great technology, the guys travel, first class travel, private, that you have more energy. I mean, more injuries than when you guys played and you just flew commercial like everybody else,
Some of the
and,
guys don't take that.
didn't have the technology, the medical technology that exists today.
But Rudy, you know though, Ricky, some guys don't take care of their body. Now, okay, here's the thing: you can technology this, technology that, all you want, right? While you in the gym, and say you leave, you are a guy that likes the nightlife, right? You
Yeah.
out there doing this drinking and whatever else you're doing. That's the wear. That's wear and tear on the body. I don't care how much you train. A boxer can train all he wants in training camp for 2 months and get ready to fight Mike Tyson. But if he's training and he going out drinking beer at night, it's
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Ain't
it's
no
kind of the
technology
same
gonna help
thing.
that.
Huh?
Ain't no technology gonna help that.
Yeah, you know, everybody not. What did they talk about? Why do you think they tried to talk about Michael Jordan so bad? Because of his nightlife. They couldn't believe with his nightlife that he still could play at that level. And I can tell you, guys hurting right now, and I'm being honest. James Harden,
Oh yeah, yeah,
his nightlife is his biggest problem now, even more than on the court. He likes to be on the streets, man. He's a guy that likes to be seen on video over in France or wherever it may be, and with the rappers and all that. He chose to live that lifestyle. At that age, you can't do what you did at 25. And LeBron realizes that. That's why you don't hear about him out in the nightlife so much. He talks about his wine, but he knows to be around that house with Bronny and Bryce and the family, and he knows how to conserve his energy because he wants to have another, a career that no one could ever match, basically. If you look at his longevities, and that comes from taking care of your body and eating right and all those things. But some guys don't learn that. They learn it, but they don't adhere to it. And he's a guy that does, and some don't.
Well, Derek, we just got a couple more minutes left. You know what? The more I think about Phoenix, they have probably been the most disappointing team all
I'm
season
telling
long
you.
because it just never clicked there. You know, they brought in Bradley Beal to pair with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and you know, they had some couple of good stretches during the season, but nothing to speak of, and they were just a quick exit, getting swept in the first round of the playoffs. What went wrong in Phoenix?
The first thing is, okay, they brought in KD. We know they wanted to make that work, all right? Matt Ishbia, right? Okay,
Right.
what's the second guy you say they brought in? What's the guy that was knocking the coach's hand away in game 4 when they got swept? The one that
Bradley
knocked
Beal.
Frank Vogel's hand away. What's his name? Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal. Yeah.
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 So you bring in a guy, first of all, in his mind, he's the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's Bradley Beal. Okay. I've seen him talk to the young people in his camps and stuff when he comes, makes an appearance. So I already know he thinks he's the best player in the league. And then but his mindset is what? Washington Wizards. Okay. So that's where he became a star. He never reached the pinnacle superstar. In his mind, he did. But Bradley
Right.
Beal has never been a superstar. So he goes to Washington, he plays well, and then his last year he has an off year. He had some injuries last year, and he was not the same Bradley Beal. They bring him to Phoenix now. He's no longer the same Bradley Beal, and now you bring him in with a team with no point guard. So you basically got 3 off the dribble guys. And you got a guy who could spot up, Grayson Allen, who led the NBA in three-point shooting and all that. You bring in Nurkic, but you have KD, Booker, and Bill. 3 guys who are basically the same when it comes to scoring the ball. You got no one to set them up. So it's basically putting 3 guys that you really can't trust with the ball in their hands over the course of 40 minutes against a really good defensive guard or a guard tandem like a Boston, Derrick White and Drew Holiday and those guys. They're going to expose your lack of ball skills. Devin Booker's a good ball handler against a guy that's another shooting guard. But when you're talking about a guy that can lock down defense, move their feet, and got really quick hands, that's problems for those guys. Because now they're taking more dribbles than they normally would when they have a Chris Paul who's getting them in positions to score. without Chris Paul getting them in positions to score, they have to get themselves in position to score. And that's been the problem. That's why they got swept. The main reason.
Well, that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And you know, Bradley Beal was scoring all those points in Washington, but you know, somebody's going to score points on a team. You know what I mean?
Their assist count wasn't high though,
Even
Ricky.
a bad team.
What about if your assist count is not high though? See, a team like Indiana, a team like the Pacers might have 35 baskets, seriously, and 20 of them, 22 of them might be, or 25 of them might be assists. Phoenix might have 35 baskets, about 12 of them might be assists.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Well, hey, man, I think we covered all. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I've enjoyed the show tonight, Ricky. It's going to get interesting now with Denver. Denver has to win game 2, so that's going to be interesting. If they can't win in 5,280 feet above sea level, they're in trouble.
Man, I'm so excited about. I think all these matchups are going to be just fun to watch. You know, we're still, like I said, we're still waiting on the Celtics and the winner of Orlando and Cleveland, 2 really good young teams, and they'll give them all they want. And the best thing about it all, like we've been kind of talking all night, the country's going to see a whole new crop of fresh young NBA stars.
Yes, sir. I agree. Yes, sir.
All right, brother. I'll see you next time. Thank everybody for tuning in. I'm Ricky Hampton from my great friend Derrick Gervin. See you next time.
Have a good night, Ricky. I love you, my man.
Love you.